What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And listen, those were some weird games. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into these games. Now, the first game was our 1 o'clock game, and man, did that game not disappoint. That was one of the weirdest games that I have watched. It seemed like the Vipers dominated that game from the get-go, but yet somehow, some way, they found a way to lose. And it's just going to go back to the same adage, and you're going to hear this from me again. It just goes back to the old saying, good teams find ways to win, and bad teams find ways to lose. And they just found a way to lose. They looked great. McClendon looked actually decent throughout this game. They moved the ball all up and down that field on that BattleHawks team. The reality of it is that they just couldn't punch the ball into the end zone. And this one I would have picked differently had I had known that A.J. McCarron was not going to play in this game. And I will say that was a big factor in this game. Nothing against Teanu. He came in, played well, did his thing. I mean, yeah, he had mistakes and issues, and you could definitely tell that he was the backup here, but he kept going, kept grinding, I will give him credit for that, but you can definitely tell that A.J. McCarron is the glue that holds this team together. He is part of the reason why they are where they are. It has to do with the coaching in the quarterback play, and you could feel him missed today. That's all I'm going to say, is that his presence was missed in this game. But listen, they found a way to win, and that's huge here. That really sets them up for the playoffs. And the Vipers were kind of already done to where they were kind of building up on things. I think that even though things didn't go to plan today for the Vipers, I think that they're still setting things up for the future. As this team progresses and things go, Woodson is a guy that I hope to kind of see back next year. Now, we'll see what happens, to where they're kind of, we'll see how they play for these last couple weeks, because, this technically they're out of things, but if they can keep giving the efforts like they did today, we're going to have some decent football to watch with it. So let's go ahead and let's start breaking down this game a little bit. Let's start off with the Vipers. And like I said, McClendon is kind of the place to start here. And I don't know what's up with the stats. I don't know why. You can let me know down in the comment section why Hill's interception is not counted on this sheet. He's got one touchdown pass. McClendon does. And he's got the... he doesn't have the interception on here. So we got 13 for 23 for 159 yards and 6.9 yards a pass, two sacks for 11 yards. Rushing wise, he did an excellent job here. 13 carries for 62 yards. That's kind of, like I said, more than what I wanted to see with him, but what I saw is exactly what I wanted. They had a guy step up, Brian Bird. I was kind of surprised in this one. He was a guy we hadn't heard of. He came and played really well, looked good. Lovett had some decent runs. He was back on his game today. Had that nice touchdown run. He was running strong. Rod Smith is, again, the bread and butter. He is the Mr. Consistency. He is Mr. Old Reliable, and he was reliable for him today, making plays all over the field again like he has been doing. And that receiving core is just looking sick of late. Looking at these guys, Allison had only 2 receptions, but the receptions he had looked spectacular. They were great. Bryant had a really nice catch, showed his athleticism on that catch. Sexton, did all right today. The interesting thing though, like Sweeting kind of was, he was what's the word I'm trying to look for? He was kept out from getting a catch today, but I think if I'm not mistaken, he had a drop in one of those places that could have extended a drive. That was a little bit kind of suspect on him, to where I would have, I would have liked to have seen more, had the nice kick return at the beginning of the game. But really, this team, when you look at this on paper, you really, as you look down through the stats, so they had more yards than the other team, plays doing just fine, more first downs. You start going down looking through this. They actually ran the ball really, really well, but that doesn't surprise me. The BattleHawks, like I said, they have a tough time with the run game, and so that makes sense for me here. 2 interceptions for the for the BattleHawks to the 1 for the Vipers. When you look at down here in the turnovers, you had 3-2 on the turnovers. You had the fumble from McClendon as well, and really all it was just came down to the letting the BattleHawks kick that field goal, letting them march down, kick that field goal, and your field goal away from the win. And if you remember, they missed the field goal earlier in the game, so you can say what you want about that. And then they just didn't pull through when they needed to in overtime. BattleHawks rode that wave, and they continued to show that they still have some magic left in the tank, even when they don't have their leader, AJ McCarron, on the field. Teanu came in and played well with it. This defense doesn't need to hang their hat on anything. When you look at the way that these guys played solid. They were all over the BattleHawks, really giving them a hard time in this game. I don't really want to say necessarily mistakes, but when they needed to rise the occasion, they just didn't, and the BattleHawks did, and that was the difference for these teams in this game. Let's go ahead and let's now start looking at the BattleHawks here, and let's go and look at things from the offensive side of things, and starting with Teanu. And just impressed by what we got to see from him today. 19 for 34. Like I said, it wasn't a great day. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and he tried to force the ball into areas where he shouldn't have, but what he had is he had his legs, and he used his legs. And 8 carries for 51 yards. Hill looked solid again. Hill is just, and you saw that. If you go back and look at when I talk about Hill has that perfect running style for this type of offensive run block scheme. If you look, it's a very much a zone style of run block, meaning each guy's got their own zone that they're hitting in when they're coming through, and they're taking the guy that's in the zone that they need to hit. And the running back is supposed to hit the crease and go. And so in overtime, when he scores on that second attempt in overtime to win the game, as you see him, he cuts it, and then as soon as he sees that crease, he hits it and he goes. And Hill is just fantastic at that. He does it just a wonderful job of that. And that's what this offense calls for, and that's what this offense needs, and it needs a guy like him. But going back to Teanu and what he did in this game, he came in and did what you kind of wanted from a backup. Now, he made 2 huge mistakes with the picks, throwing balls that he shouldn't have thrown. And that's where AJ McCarron would have came in, and they never would have had that, which would have continued drives on. And he would have made plays, not necessarily with his legs, but he would have made the plays and done the things and made the decisions to keep the drives going. And can I not go away without saying, oh my gosh, what a fake punt. And this is what I love about Anthony Becht as the head coach. Oh my gosh, watching this guy coach a game, like this is his first time as a head coach, and to see the composure that he has, to see him, he seems to understand each situation and pick and do what he needs to flawlessly throughout that. This fake punt was flawless the way that they did it. I mean, he was wide open. Sterling Hofrichter just played it marvelous in this game and was fantastic with that, threw that ball up there, caught that thing, and Jennings hit it and, just went into the next gear and scored that touchdown. I was kind of afraid at the time that they were going to get a call of blocking in the back on one of the guys down the field, but they didn't. Aitman's starting to show up in this game. Sorry, I'm moving on to the wide receivers now. I'm all over the place with this one. But Aitman came alive in this game. They got Butler. Like I said, when Butler's, getting a long touchdown pass, they seemed to find ways to win, and they did. Shepard had kind of, this game wasn't as big. He didn't have a big of a role in this game. And I think part of it had to do with AJ McCarron being out. But yeah, all in all, they looked solid, looked good, decently on offense. Now, I will say that they needed those plays at the end of the game to really win. Like I said, this was the Vipers game from the get-go to win. And the BattleHawks, when they needed the plays, they made the plays. And when the Vipers needed to take advantage and really step up and take this game, they didn't. And that's what cost them this game, and that's why they lost this game. As I go through, and you're going to hear this time and time out, and we're going to talk about that in our next game here, because it's the exact same thing. So as I'm switching over, and, we'll start looking at that Arlington or Orlando game, it's kind of, the teams that have been winning find ways to win, and the teams that lose find ways to lose, and that's what we have here. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start things off with the Guardians in this game. This was one of those to where I was really curious to see how this team was going to do, being that they came off a huge win last week, and now that they're going, and are they going to have that week after hangover after just having such an emotional high and coming off of that big win last week? And I feel like they kind of did. Everything that they accomplished last week and everything that was there, it kind of fell off. And I don't know if I want to give too much credit to them just not rising to the occasion and having kind of a hangover from the previous week, or if the Renegades defense is just that good. But 5 turnovers, Quentin Dormady, 5 turnovers, and you could just tell that, right now he's kind of where they're at, and he didn't have necessarily, his stats are worse than what it necessarily was. He just didn't really protect the ball. When he's getting hit, you got to protect the ball. You can't fumble the ball. You can't do what you did. And some of the throws that he made were really ill-advised, and I was kind of surprised. He got away from kind of his bread and butter, and we're kind of throwing passes to nothing against him, but I'm just like, why in the world are we throwing the ball to Cannon? And I get it that he's been blowing past guys, but he's not winning his 1v1s. He's not winning those plays downfield. I don't know why we're doing that. Why are they not, relying on guys like Rogers or Rambo or Latimer or even Williams down the field? Like, I don't understand that. Why they were not trying to get these guys, looking down the field. And granted, I get it. That Renegades defense is really, really good. And even with Will Hill getting thrown out of the game, they are really, really good. So anyways, Quentin Dormady, 300 yards passing, but they couldn't do anything running the ball. And it shows right here. Martin, every time he touched the ball, he was just getting hit immediately, dropped. They did a fantastic job. Nobody ran well on that team, not even Dormady scrambling with the ball. So really all they had was their passing offense, and when you've got 5 turnovers, you're just not going to win a game. I mean, the reality of it is that if it weren't for the turnover there at the end of the game, they were really within. It would have been a long field goal, really long one, but they were right there. I mean, they could have got a few more yards if he just hold on to the ball, get a few more yards, get into field goal range, and you win the game, and your playoff hopes are still alive. But now you're eliminated, and that's what happens. You find ways to lose games when you're a bad team. So they're eliminated, and it looks like right now that this Renegades team, now that are back at 500, looks like that they're going to kind of moonlight in on that kind of playoff spot. I feel like right now they're so the Brahmas still have a shot, but with their quarterback situations, I don't really see them doing anything to where I feel like we're going to have a couple weeks of the Renegades figuring things out, the Roughnecks figure things out before they play each other in the playoff, and we'll see how that all transpires and how that kind of all weighs out with it, because I feel like right now in the South that those are your 2 teams that are going to be it there. I think we still have a fight in the North that we're going to be playing out here for another few weeks. But looking at that South division, I think that after this game, it pretty much has solidified it for me who the two teams are going to be. And Luis Perez, let's go ahead and let's switch it over. And I don't want to take anything away from that defense. That defense for the Guardians, they played all right. They had some turnovers there. They were able to get the ball. So, nothing against those guys. That offense on the other side of it with the Renegades just really isn't there yet, and they're starting to pick things up, and I think Perez is going to be the guy for them. But I think that they're an okay defense, but I think that a lot of it has to do with just the inaptness of just the Renegades offense. So going ahead and switching things over to the Renegades, we had Luis Perez, who 16 for 25, 190 yards, a pretty respectable day. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked once, and that's kind of a big deal for them. Only having the one sack. They've had troubles with their offensive line, and to see that as a good thing. Brown was a guy who they kind of relied on earlier on, which I was kind of surprised that they had him in there. But, he ran well, looked sharp, looked good. Devion Smith did his thing as usual, got his touchdown in there. On that drive, he was not going to be denied. He was the man on a mission. And I do kind of agree with the coach here. I kind of agree with Stoops that they kind of blew the whistle a little early, if you ask me. And when they were driving down and punching that ball into the end zone, I kind of feel like that. This is another team, had the mistake not been made on the other side of the ball, the Guardians could have still really won it, because you got to remember the defense scored again, and this Renegades defense figures out how to score. If their offense can figure out how to score, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for any team coming up here in the future. But, turning things to the passing game, Winningham had some nice catches. Vaughn got in the mix again. The one that was really surprising for me, and I don't know if he was hurt, was, and you can let me know, Sal Calanella. He really was silenced on the day, and I guess give them props for that. He didn't really have anything in this game, and he's really been their bread and butter. So I will kind of say that they, you do have that. I was really surprised with this defense, though, just the guys that stepped up when you had guys come out on injury, when you had Will Hill get kicked out of the game. And listen, you got to keep your composure in these type of settings, right? I mean, you've played enough football. You've been around long enough. I know that you're heated. These are heated situations. You're right there in the moment, and that with it. But you've got to learn to do that. You can't put your team in those positions and get yourself kicked out of a game, especially when you're trying to get yourself, into that next level. Anything that you do that can hinder you from looking good, you don't want to do in those situations. And so, I applaud the effort, but I've got to be real and say you got to keep your mouth shut. You got to learn to keep your mouth shut. You just got to get back up, and you got to get back. You just need to learn how to do that. But yeah, this defense is just sick. Four more sacks on the day, 5 turnovers. They had a big day. They were the reason why this team won today. I mean, that's just. There's no doubt about it. It was that the Renegades defense beat the Orlando Guardians, and it really wasn't that the offense that the offense won it for them. But I will say that, like I said, the offense is starting. They got a feel for what Perez is going to do, how he's going to lead this team, and I think that you're going to see that build now, and to where this is going to be a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs. So. Saturday afternoon games. They were fun to watch. They kept me, entertained, and these were games that, were fun to watch and sit there. I had family over at our house today, and I had the games on during having family over. So I didn't have like my eyes completely glued the whole time. But the cool thing was I got to share the XFL experience with my family, and I'm not just saying like people who don't watch football. These are people who are, heavy into football. I've got one brother-in-law who is a diehard Cleveland Browns fan, sitting there watching with me, noticing who guys are and in that and into it and seeing that it's good football. And I got another one who's a Bears fan. And keeps up with professional football as well. And both of them, enjoyed watching the games with me. We had fun, talking politics and sitting there having fun watching football while we're, just having snacks and enjoying a really nice Easter weekend day. And so, yeah, it was just fun to watch. And I'm looking forward to the 2 games on Easter Sunday. As always, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section, and we'll continue on the conversation down there. Listen, guys, I know that you're busy and I know that I'm busy. So let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.